Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your Manchester Derby preview. And Vin, talk to me. Obviously, Vin's off the bench to replace Larry. Larry was looking forward to a preview tonight, but Manchester United's depth can take a little bit of a lesson from the United's Pubcast depth. When Larry drops out, we no shortage of substitutes coming off the bench. I do appreciate Vin for joining us. If you are happy Vin is with us, please do leave a like on the video. That'd be very much appreciated. But Vin, Manchester Derby, I'm worryingly confident. I don't like being confident ahead of a Manchester Derby, and I'll tell you what, it's probably been a decade since I have been. Well, when you do look back in terms of their dominance in recent years, and I say recent years, I do go back to a decade type thing. This is the first time. Now, look, we'll get into favourites and everything. Manchester City is still probably favourites, but I do have a confidence, and that is a good thing. But ultimately, it still worries me because it's an unfamiliar position. So talk to me as life as a Man United fan at the moment.
Thank you, Tom. First of all, good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I made it online to the United Podcast. Thank you for having me, and thanks to Larry for conveniently dropping off. What to say? It's been a while since we had this very well-run machine of Manchester United, with a well-greased and well-oiled machine of Manchester United, and expectedly or unexpectedly doing well in all competitions.
I think we're the only English team, sorry to interrupt, we're the only English team still in 4 competitions. Now, it's not the Champions League, but in all 4 competitions, only Manchester United. Sorry, continue. I just had to put that in.
It really doesn't matter where we are, but it really does matter what competitions we are in. So it's as you said, we are a bit confident this time, isn't it? Because I remember the last time, I think we had this conversation right after the last demolition City served us a pawn, and things were really not going great for United. But now, especially after the World Cup, after this long international break, I can see that things are working out finally, and we are actually seeing a team right on the pitch. It's not just on paper anymore, it's on the pitch. And what really good thing is City, on the other hand, are going through a bit of a blip. Of course, people will say a competition knockout is not a blip, but even in the league, they are not performing to their highest standards. So, especially after the World Cup break. So, this is probably the time when Ten Hag and his United team take notice of what this team can achieve, and put a downpour on probably. If my maths is right, it's Pep Guardiola's 500th league game. So it will be very interesting to be the party poopers and especially knock up a home win against City in what looks like for a really long time.
I think in terms of, I think we all look back at, and nothing to do with Manchester City, obviously the other half in regards to our rivalry with Liverpool, we all look back at a famous quote from Sir Alex Ferguson. Can't wait. My greatest achievement was knocking Liverpool off their FM perch, etc. And I think that's something we look back on with such fond memories and think, what a great iconic quote that is. I think something in terms of, you look back at Eric Ten Hag's first press conference and he's talking about Liverpool and Manchester City, and he says all eras come to an end. And look, Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool and City have done fantastic over recent years. There's no hiding from the fact that they've achieved unfortunate greatness. Maybe not Liverpool, one title in 30 years. They can calm down a little bit. But you do look how dominant they have been. Ten Hag is right. Our era came to an end under Sir Alex Ferguson. Liverpool and City took over, and Ten Hag was right. Their era is going to come to an end. Hopefully, Manchester United are the ones that take their spot. But I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can look back in 20 years at Eric Ten Hag's first press conference and think, geez, he called it. He knew what he was doing. So if you are happy with Eric Ten Hag in charge and everything he's doing, please do leave a like on the video. I'll say good day to everyone in the live chat, and then we'll crack on all things sort of Derby preview. But George, good to see you as always, mate. I've a few comments about Weghorst in the chat. I was scrolling through Twitter. 1 or 2 things are starting to break now. I was thinking of doing the Manchester Derby preview on Friday in terms of a bit of a Friday night point, but I have a feeling in terms of the noise, we could be doing a Weghorst video this time tomorrow. So we thought do the preview today, and maybe overnight a bit of Weghorst news will break, and we'll cover that tomorrow night. So make sure you are subscribed if you haven't. Jamie, good to see you, mate, always. Ashby, always good to have you here, mate. Adam here, yeah, reminded this is the news I was sort of reading. Burnley and Besiktas have come to some type of an agreement to sort of terminate that loan agreement, and that obviously opens the door for Manchester United. Matt, good to see you, mate. Hope to see you there on Saturday night. The last 2 guests have been better than Larry. and Chris as well. Larry's been out in the sun. Yeah, the quality of depth we have on the bench is fantastic. So I do appreciate everyone's contribution to the podcast. But Vin, where do you want to start on this Manchester derby in regards to, am I right to be confident in regards to, I don't know what I'm confident about in regards to result. We can't shake the 6-0 defeat earlier. I say 6-0. I keep forgetting it was 6-3. But the 6-3 defeat, we can't shake what happened there. And it was bad performance. And Manchester City showed where they are sort of in their progression under Pep Guardiola and how far sort of soon into the journey we are with Erik ten Hag. No matter how good we're doing, we do need to sit back and reflect and think we're right at the start. We could very well go and lose this game and sort of go on a bit of a 5-game skid. We're still very early in the Erik ten Hag journey. But what I'm mainly confident about is, yes, I'm confident about the 3 points in the result. Where that comes, we'll know at full time. But I'm more confident in regards to us going out with the right intent. Well, now, we won games under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, under Pep Guardiola, and I think deservedly won them in regards to the way we played. I think we were the deserved winners. However, in all those deserved victories, City were the better team. Well, we just sort of were clinical on the counter-attack and hurt them at sort of key moments. But I have a feeling whether this eventuates and sort of proves in a positive and a dominant performance, I think Erik ten Hag will go out with the idea to dominate the match. And I just think whether we do or not, time will tell. City are a good team. City could easily dominate it if they turn up. But I have a confidence that if we do get into the game and we start well and the players are up for it, and Manchester City aren't at 100%, even if they're at 90, 95%, I have a feeling we could actually be the better team in this game. And we've never said that over the last 10 years against Manchester City. Even if we've got results, it's always been on the counter-attack. And that's nothing wrong with being on the counter-attack. But I just have a confidence in regards to Erik ten Hag's approach that this team is capable of doing this approach. If we were going out there with Smalling, Jones, Darmian and Ashley Young, I wouldn't expect to go and dominate Manchester City. But I'm going out there with Shaw, Delot, Maguire, Martinez and Varane, and I'm expecting, yes, we're going to be the better team today. Whether that eventuates, I'm not sure. But just your thoughts in regards to where's your confidence lies ahead of kickoff?
So, since the Ferguson era, this is since the end of the Ferguson era, this is the first time where I feel that we are a bit positive. Not the way we are able to turn up results over the last few games, not because of our current form, not because of the purple patch of our inborn striker, but it's more about, as you said, the intent, the way the team is actually playing like a team. After Ferguson era, you have a look, we had Moyes. Of course, he didn't even cut the cloth. And we had LVG, whom we were not really raving about the way we played. There was always a bit of negativity. And comes Mourinho after that. I was really pumped up for the first Manchester derby against Pep, his arch nemesis. It didn't go as per plans. And then came Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Even though we did knock up a win against City, there was always this conservative approach from a tactical point of view United had taken. And then Ralph Rangnick, we knew what happened. It was more about, of course, Ralph won the press conferences as compared to the games on the pitch. But now with Ten Hag, I can say that the players are actually playing the way he wants them to play. There is a bit of tactical nous and tactical brain behind everything. The runs the players are making, the set pieces, the drills that they go through during their practice sessions are coming up live to the pitch. So it does give a sense of optimism, not a false sense of optimism. But again, I'm going to be really grounded, and anything we get from the game is a huge positive for me. I know people will be slacking me off saying, oh, we need 3 points, but who am I kidding? After the last few games we had played against City, and especially at home, I would really take a draw as a very conservative manner. Yeah. So,
no doubt. I'm sure in a couple of days we'll sort of be looking at results, especially the Arsenal game. Which one, if you had to take 4 points, which one would you rather have a draw? Which one is more important to win? So I'm sure we'll have all those discussions. But let's say you're Erik ten Hag and forget where Erik ten Hag wants to be and forget how brilliant he has been. So just in the situation we are now, and you can even factor in maybe a Diogo Dalot injury and Wan-Bissaka, you can throw in the midfield discussion as well. So with all things considered, as City's form and the sort of things in place Erik ten Hag has at his disposal at the moment, what is the right approach for this game? Should we sort of believe in the confidence to go out and try and be the better team? And ultimately, look, there's no hiding for that. Manchester City are better than us. But should we go out with that intent to try and dominate? Or do you see the right sort of intention been from Erik ten Hag, maybe from a personnel aspect, let's say, drop Christian Eriksen and play Fred and be a little bit more defensive orientated and try to hit on the break? Like, do you think Erik ten Hag should sort of, in regards to getting the result, shy away from his principles a little bit? Or do you think, regardless of the result, even if it's ended up in a 2-0 defeat, Erik ten Hag should really try and do what he wants to do in 3 years' time in terms of implement that plan? So what do you think is the right choice from Erik ten Hag?
If I was him, I wouldn't share any surprises with the starting lineup. I would probably play it as it is. I would definitely not bring in Fred as a starter to the game. I might probably bring in during the second half, because I remember the one thing that was very that etched out to my mind during our last derby game was the first tackle by Diogo Dalot, and he was given a yellow card right away, and which kind of made us a bit cautious, because we know that we were just one tackle away from getting a player sent off. So I would really not bring in Fred, because Fred is not as self-destructive as Eric Bailly. But again, in a huge game, I would rather bring him as an impact substitute during our midfield. When the City's midfield gets a bit tiring, especially with Gundogan and Rodri on the center midfield, probably that's when I'll bring in Fred to press them and make them do some mistakes and nick the ball off and pass it on to our attackers. That's where I'll still stick to the tried and tested formula and not bring in any surprises. Probably Aaron Wan-Bissaka instead of Diogo Dalot because of that injury scare. But again, I'm not sure. Probably it was just a conservative approach taken by Ten Hag to take him off because he was he might be part of his plans during the game on Saturday.
Yeah, look, I'm sure Erik ten Hag, he hasn't had his press conference yet. We'll be discussing all things there. But that word you there say in regards to Fred in terms of that impact, I think we talk about impact in regards to substitutions and who can come on and change a game. Can a winger come on and provide something different and sort of create a chance? We think that is an impact. Sometimes you can have a defensive impact. And I think if the game, not often, like Christian Eriksen's brilliant. I absolutely love what he brings. He's not a player you would bring off, just in my mind, just in terms of picture in a game. Christian Eriksen isn't a player you'd bring off the bench to change the game. Now, you can bring him on, he could be a brilliant sub, and he could change the game, but he's not that impact sub. Fred is definitely not that impact sub, but we might need that defensive impact where Christian Eriksen has sort of broken down, where we've got a 1 or 2 goal lead, and Fred is far more impactful, providing that energy in that last 20 minutes. So I don't picture Fred as this impact sub, but defensively he probably is. So that is where I don't disagree with anyone if they do sort of maybe opt for Fred in this game from the start. I think, okay, it's valid. But that is where I'll probably look to Erik ten Hag to pick Christian Eriksen at the start. Let's see if we can play. If not, if we need a few more legs in the second half, then throw Fred on. I think that is the far safer bet rather than look. And if Fred started, I think maybe off the last couple of performances, maybe deserves to. He's done nothing wrong and he's performed well. So won't lose any sleep. But I'd like to see Eriksen get the start.
Yeah, another reason I mentioned Fred was because of the energy he brings. Really short bursts of energy he brings to the game, and he sometimes does his Brazilian samba, which allows the players to do mistakes and probably make them a bit anxious in keeping the ball close to themselves. I do notice people would not want Christian Eriksen to start the game, especially about what happened during the last game against City. But again, we need to take a step back and look at it. It was probably within the first 10 games of Ten Hag when we versed against City, and the team was not even really in a well-run machine. I mean, they probably had less than 40 training sessions by then. So I would really give him another opportunity, and especially and it's coming from me, who kind of told earlier when we signed Eriksen that he shouldn't be playing more than 30 games.
Look, Eriksen, since he's been in, has been absolutely brilliant. I think he's been a breath of fresh air. I think he's far exceeded my expectations, and I had high expectations for him in regards to his quality, but he's been absolutely brilliant. Adam here is saying, I love Eriksen, but I wouldn't start him against City. I'll go with the midfield of Casemiro, McTominay and Bruno, then bring on Eriksen later in the game, but won't happen. McTominay's an interesting shout. I wouldn't go McTominay, and obviously one of McTominay's fans. The reason I wouldn't go for McTominay, but the thinking with McTominay, which has crossed my mind in regards to this, is Lisandro Martinez up against Erling Haaland. I think that is where potentially, if he wants to drop Eriksen and have that Fred-like player, I think what would potentially opt for McTominay over Fred next to Casemiro is if they try and target Martinez. Because we all sit here and say, no, you can't target Martinez. That's not going to happen. Even Erling Haaland, okay, Martinez is brilliant. He's the best centre-back in the world. Look what happened last time against Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland scored a hat-trick. So I think Manchester City will target Martinez. Whether that proves successful or not, we'll know it full time. But a case for what Erik ten Hag would be thinking with Scott McTominay is to double up Rafael Varane on one striker and McTominay double up with Lisandro Martinez if Haaland is to pin himself against the Argentine. Now, I don't expect that to happen, but if you do see McTominay in the starting lineup, that's where I think the line of thinking would be. I don't think it will happen, but time will tell. But it definitely is a shout. Matt here is saying Palestra is an impact sub. Imagine probably worked his way into contention. Obviously not from the start, but if the game is tight and we need maybe fresh legs, you could definitely see that potentially happening. It'll be interesting. It'll be a shock, but it's definitely on the cards. He'll definitely be on the bench 100%. George here is saying Ten Hag doesn't care. He'll make sure United are on the front foot. Ten Hag is a ruthless coach. If you don't play to your ability, you get benched. I can't wait to see year 2 and year 3. That's the thing in terms of just looking back. Ten Hag has been brilliant. Everything he's done, and nothing but praise for him. It's still so well. It's a couple of months into his reign. We look at Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola and where their great teams are now. They came in, 2015, 2016. They've been here for the best part of a decade. Erik ten Hag's been here a few months. So if Erik ten Hag continues this way under new owners, maybe the sky's the limit, and he is right with that era coming to an end with those clubs. So before we move on, Chris here, definitely Zidane McTominay. There was actually I'm sure everyone watches the alternate Man United commentary on Twitter. If you don't follow it, send us a message. I'll shoot you a link to it. McTominay got a Zidane mentioned. Rob here with its football thing. Here we go. I assume this is potentially along the lines of Wout Weghorst. So do let me know if that has been confirmed. A few other comments. Adam here saying $2.5 million for Weghorst, not a bad deal in my opinion. So I have a feeling, I'm not scrolling through Twitter, but I have a feeling it might be a little bit of news breaking, which is always good. But Vin, before we get on to Wout Weghorst, the 2 other strikers on the thumbnail, Erling Haaland and Marcus Rashford. You wouldn't have said this a couple of weeks ago, but Marcus Rashford is in better form than Erling Haaland, and yeah, he's the best striker in Manchester.
Absolutely. He is on a purple patch, isn't he? And it's been a while since we saw an attacker from the red side of Manchester exhibit a purple patch. The last time it was I can say Bruno, but he wasn't he did exhibit that form. But again, how long we have waited for Rashford to come up to this form, and that's what it matters, right? Form is temporary, class is permanent. I know I'm throwing up quotes right now, but again, with time and care given to a certain individual, a diamond just can get better and better. Especially a lot of people wrote him off after the shoddy last season he had, especially after the back injury, playing with the injury and whatnot. He was not even the player he was. He was in the bench. He was not starting games. And then the sense of confidence, and probably Ten Hag, it might be a very great man manager and a very underrated great man manager in the making, I can see, because people always look at Ten Hag and say hey, he is a good tactician and whatnot, but no one actually talks about the man management he brings. Probably it might be Ten Hag or it might be the backroom staff, but credit to them, credit to Rashford for taking his chance, and I really certainly wish Martial can at least achieve 50% of what Rashford does sometime in the future, at least sometime this season. Sorry about the dig against Martial. It's just I lost patience against him.
Well, it was going to go into my next point. I'm just adjusting the title to put Weghorst in there. We'll touch on the Weghorst deal at the end. I'll scroll through Twitter. I'll just adjust the heading. But just your thoughts on that. Obviously, not the huge fan of Anthony Martial, but if you do look at the front three now, I think Anthony will keep his spot on the right-hand side. Good goal, and Erik ten Hag was full of praise for that. Obviously scored a great goal against Manchester City in the Drubbin earlier in the season. So I think he picks himself on the right. Marcus Rashford, I prefer on the left. Now, yes, we're talking about his goals, and we think goals, and that's a striker, but I think his best games have come on the left. That's where he's more suited. So that leaves the striker position. Now, Wout Weghorst hasn't arrived at Old Trafford in regards to he's not available for the match. So up front, he's only Anthony Martial. Now, could you see potentially would he want to flood the midfield and maybe play? I don't think he will play this, but we saw him play Anthony Elanga. So could he play maybe Bruno Fernandes as a false nine and sort of flood the midfield? So I think it'll be Anthony Martial. I think we're playing, regardless of what anyone's thoughts are of him or his goal scoring record at the moment. I think the lack of goal scoring record it's coincided with very good football. So, okay, he's not getting on the end of things and scoring goals, but we are playing very good football, and that is with Anthony Martial up front. So I don't see a scenario where Martial doesn't start, but can you see a situation where that potentially is the case?
I did say, it did come up to my mind that Bruno starting as a false nine. But then again, we haven't played false nine based systems for a while, and as much as I would love to gamble that Ten Hag taking that formation, I don't see him making that choice at a big game, especially when you have a chance to leapfrog Newcastle and remain a point behind City in case if we go ahead and win all 3 points. I don't see him making that decision. I still see Martial starting, but I really wish him to make, to put those chances to bed rather than just fluffing all the chances that's coming his way. That's one of the things I wish, really, that Martial on the score sheet on the game on Saturday. I did see a comment about Sancho by George, but I don't see that. I don't see that happening. At least not until the end of this winter transfer window.
I don't think it would be fair to throw Sancho. And look, you haven't even seen him in training photos. I don't think it would be fair to throw him in. I think a few people made the correct shout and say maybe throw him in against Charlton. He wasn't even on the bench there, so maybe we're still a fair way off seeing Jadon Sancho. I think we'll see him in training photos well before we see him back on the pitch. So we haven't got that yet. Look, I'd love to see it. I am a fan of Jadon Sancho, but I think it still might be a while, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. I mean, like most of us had a chance to meet him, and of course from not from a really close vicinity, but a good bloke. But things are not going his way, especially. But I would prefer not rushing him back, giving him all the time he wants, and then bring him.
We don't know what the issue is, and look, it's not our right to know. If it is a personal thing, we have no right to know. It's not for us to know, but we are selfish as football fans and as people and as a society. We want to know everything, but it is weird. Usually we do know these things. Usually we do know what happens or everything, but this has been kept quiet, which is a good thing. But ultimately our selfish nature sort of does take over, and we think, well, hang on, what is it? Because it's very a unique situation where this happens. And fair play to Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho keeping it quiet if it needs to be kept quiet. I don't want to stick my nose in it, but it is interesting because I remember Juan Mata came out. I remember Juan Mata was away for months and months and everything. What the hell's happened here? And it got found out. And that was good. He needed to take his time, but we found out months later that his mother was sick. And that was the issue. So, and rightly so. He went away to take the time, but it might be something like that with Jadon Sancho. Fingers crossed all is well in his personal life. But it is a weird situation. And Erik ten Hag, I think in terms of the off-field stuff he has managed this season, Harry Maguire, Ronaldo, hopefully the Jadon Sancho, if that turns around and he comes back and performs, he'll manage that perfectly. I think Erik ten Hag on and off the field has been absolutely brilliant for Manchester United in terms of the performances, but also the man management in tricky situations. So if you are happy with Ten Hag's man management, people, please do leave a like on the video. Now, before we'll wrap up with the Wout Weghorst stuff. I'll do a little bit of looking into it. But before we sort of wrap up the Manchester Derby preview, I'm not going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. Title 21, title implications. If we win, I'm just thinking, is it, we're going to have a bench and we're going to look at the title. Yeah, title, it's coming home. Yeah, we're going to win the Premier League, all that. Manchester City are in a title race. I still hold them as favourites. So, actually, no. I think Arsenal are probably favourites now, but you're not wrong if you say Manchester City are still favourites regardless of the gap. So let's say you have Manchester City as favourites. If we're a point behind them, mathematically, we're in a title race. Now, is that going to sustain? Are we going to continue that up? Probably not, obviously. But what are you thinking in regards to if we do get a win, and obviously a good win, if we go out and perform and dominate and get the win, just what are your thoughts in regards to title? Do you want to put it aside and not even think about it? Or given the situation, do you think, hang on, no, we're here now, we might as well go for it?
When you look at the calendar, it's January already, and you feel that, okay, whoever is in the top or in the top four has a chance for the title race. But this season, it's really different. We haven't even crossed halfway of the Premier League Championship, right? And, of course, Arsenal, credit to them, they are leading the table. But I don't want to put all my eggs in a basket and say, like, okay, let's go and get that Premier League title. Let's just chase that up. I would still wait closer when we are around the 24-25 mark and see when we have the last 13-15 games, or in Sir Alex words, squeaky bum time. That's when I will be deciding if we are actually in the title race. But given the form we are in right now, and all I can expect is chalk up as much points as we can and make use of this wonderful run, because we all know, we are all aware, we are all adult enough to accept that someday or the other it will be coming to an end. So just take it one game at a time. Of course, there is always going to be banter, but realistically speaking, I would not look about even talking about us in a title race until we are at the 23rd, 24th mark game in the season, which is still at least 6 or 7 games away.
Oh, well, look, it's still a long way to go. It's such a unique season. You look at our fixture list at the moment with those League Cup semi-finals, the Europa League against Barcelona, make-up games when the Queen passed away. It's absolutely chaos. Even the Premier League issued a apology in regards to all the way they fit the Crystal Palace match in. It's a very bad situation for, as I said at the start of the podcast, the only English team in all 4 competitions. It's a horrible situation for a club like Man United because there's simply no games or no time for these games. But Rob here is saying in regards to the Eric Wout Weghorst stuff, which we'll get into just before or just after we wrap up in regards to predictions, but they'll try and get the paperwork done for the derby. Personally, I doubt it. Yeah, I'll look a little bit more into it, but you'd be shocked if he's ready for the derby. Off the bench, it'll be great to see. Emad here. First of all, as George mentioned yesterday, a huge congratulations to the birth of another child for Emad. So I hope you, little fella, and your lovely wife are doing well. Congratulations from everyone, all our podcast listeners. Hope all is well at home. And Matt here, can't wait to see me introduced on Saturday night. Well, I'll just bring it up in here just as Vin, give me a score prediction in regards to the Manchester derby. Then we'll move everything on to Wout Weghorst. So we've just sort of been full of positivity, and yeah, we're going to go be the better team. Ultimately, put your money where your mouth is. What do you actually, if you're a betting man, what are you thinking in regards to a score prediction this week?
It's either going to be a 2-1 victory for United or a 2-2 draw for United. That's going to be my prediction.
What game would you prefer if you have to take 4 points, or maybe if you have to take 3 points? If you have to take 1 win, 1 loss, which game would you rather win and lose? If you have to sort of combine the two out of City and Arsenal, which one do you prefer in the win and loss? If you're gun to your head, is that obviously not an easy choice, but is there any sort of sense behind the decision there?
I have to pick lose, isn't it?
Yeah, no, 3 points. You have to win one of the games and lose one of the games.
I would win against City. And unfortunately, I had to lose against Arsenal.
I think the opposite. There's no right answer. There's no right answer, obviously.
Yeah.
I just think a win against Arsenal would close that gap to the current leaders. I think, if they extended their gap over us.
The main reason is the win against City is just to really, hinder their current form. Their momentum will be hindered, right? That's for one. There will be questions. Of course, they'll go and sign players worth $50 million like cash in their pocket. But lose against Arsenal, not that I would want to. The only reason why I would chase is between City and Arsenal, I would like to see Arsenal win the league. I know there's going to be a lot of hate, but I can't see myself looking at, there'll be, if City wins the league this season, just look at the number of titles they are right behind us. So I don't want to even think of that. And if it means letting Arsenal win, and if it means postponing that thing for 1 year, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, look, it's a hypothetical that no one wants to answer. I just think we've won 8 games in a row. We're bound to lose eventually. So I'm preparing myself. But I'll bring up here in regards to Wout Weghorst. So we'll move on. If you did enjoy that Manchester derby preview, do leave a like on the video. Very much appreciated. Enjoy everyone's interaction, opinions in the comments. But I'll bring up the Wout Weghorst stuff here if I can. Bear with me with a little bit of technicality. I'll see if I can share my screen here. But Wout Weghorst, Vin, talk to me. Is it something do you share my excitement? Am I wrong to be excited?
I think your screen's no longer visible. The excitement, yes, because I love the goal he scored against Argentina in the World Cup. Though he didn't really perform well when he was with Burnley last season. It's I wouldn't call it as a gamble because it's 3 million. Of course, 3 million is close to nothing in today's world of football. It's not a gamble, but he does bring that kind of change in dynamics and change in the way United will play a plan B, especially is more like how Sebastian Haller played for Ajax last season, or there was this other, or Klaas-Jan Huntelaar when he initially started out under when he initially played when Ten Hag was the new manager of Ajax. He would bring that dynamic, and of course, with the goal he scored against Argentina, he's like, okay, you need to have that kind of tenacity to score and that kind of mindset at that time to sneak in something. So I'm excited. It's not a huge deal. I'm quite sure he won't be in humongous wages. So if it works out, it might be ending up as one of the shrewdest business United has ever done. And
look, given the situation we're in, like at the start of the season, do you want to bring Wout Weghorst in to help it with a title challenge? No, that's not the answer. But given the situation we're in, where the club have pretty much publicly stated there's no money available for transfers, we're in desperate need of a striker. We're in desperate need of an old-fashioned striker. This guy wants to come in on loan, has a relationship with Erik ten Hag. You think, well, it's not an ideal situation, but where we're in, it's a decent option. If you mentioned here, George here in regards to Edison Cavani, exactly what we need. Probably on low wages too, far less wages than what Cavani would have been on. Rob here, the guy seems like he'd run through a brick wall to play for us. And I think that is also a huge thing as well. You do look at the characters and the personalities Erik ten Hag has brought in. They're players who, whether they love Manchester United or they just say that, their actions show that they love Manchester United. They all love fighting for the team. And that's ultimately all you can ask for these players. They're all far better footballers than us. So if they misplace a pass, who are we to criticise? The one thing we do demand, or can demand, rightfully so, is they put 100% in, and all his signings so far have done that. So if this guy comes in and starts working his ass off up front, that's only a good thing for Manchester United. So at the start of the season, I'm not sort of clamouring for Wout Weghorst to come on. Only George from the podcast last night, he's been the only person. Since the day Ralph Rangnick came in, he was talking to me at work. Wout Weghorst is going to come to Manchester United. So he called it before anyone. And I'm sure before any Manchester United fan in the world, unless Wout Weghorst's friends and family are Man United fans, no one else called that. So fair play to George there. Chris here reminded us, a few in the live chat today, which is great. So keep your opinions coming in. We'll keep the chat going for a little bit, but only 6 likes. So if you are in the chat, please do leave a like on the video. It'd be very much appreciated. But what was I going to say? Any information in the chat? Sorry, I was just scrolling through Twitter there. Any information in the chat in regards to what we're discussing earlier? He can't be available for the Manchester derby. Fingers crossed he is. What an occasion that would be. But is there any paperwork issues that need to be done by Friday at lunchtime? It's obviously Thursday night here in Sydney. Just hunch, Vin. Do you see a situation where he is available for the derby, or do you think it's still we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves?
As he is on loan and he's still somewhere connected to Burnley, I think he doesn't need to go through the long waiting process of a work permit. I think that might be a positive scenario. And I echo Chris's thoughts. He'll come off the bench and score a winner. And
what a story!
I would love that. I mean, probably the next great sub we have had after Michael Owen scoring the winner, of course. But I do see him. If there is no curveball and everything is going as per the plans, and if my assumptions about the work permit, someone can correct me, is true, that as he's still connected to Burnley and he would have needed a work permit to work in Turkey, and his old work permit will still remain the same. He doesn't have to go through and wait for it. And also we have to keep in mind the business, the United Kingdom is coming back from holidays, and I really hope they're not going to keep on hold, and they're going to process everything.
And one of the main things we do have to remember, we've just shown Fabrizio Romano has tweeted that. Nothing from Man United yet. So Man United still need to make that official, do all the paperwork. That might be in the next couple of hours. That might be in the next couple of days. Who knows? But what a story that would be if he came on and scored the winner. Just on that, Chris reminds us, come on and score the winner. What a moment that would be. I think we can envisage it. We can envisage a cross in and towering over John Stones or something, powering a header in. Well, I think we can all see it. But you mentioned the Michael Owen winner. Talk to me, favourite Manchester derby moments. In the live chat, do let us know your favourite Manchester derby moments. Put them in the chat. We'll read them out. And Vin, off the top of your head, look, there are a few that stand out. So let's wipe off the table the Rooney bicycle and the Michael Owen winner. Let's sort of wipe those off the table and just give me maybe a more unique one, or if there's another big one that I'm missing.
The one, again, it's a Rooney goal, but it's in the Carabao Cup in the second leg, if I remember.
With the V shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my fondest memories, and especially the celebration by Rooney after that. Even the first game, the first or the second Manchester derby of Bruno, where he gives this little bit of a nudge to Martial, and he goes ahead and scores, puts it aside.
And that game as well, McTominay from distance as well. I
Yeah,
think that was
last
the
game
game before COVID. It
Yeah,
was too. What a memory that was.
it was really brilliant.
George here with a
Yeah,
shout. Robin Van Persie free kick at the way that he had last time we won a title. I remember I was in a bar in Paris watching that match, and I was sick as a dog. And I said, no, it was the only place I could watch it. Couldn't watch it at the hotel, so I found a pub. Horrible hay fever. I felt horrible, but I was there. And when he scored that winner, the pub, unbelievable atmosphere. So fond memories of that one. Thank God we did get the result over the line. Obviously huge in the title race back in 12-13. Chrissy with an interesting shout, maybe forgotten because City won the league a couple of days later. But those 2 goals Pogba scored. What an occasion that was. The City was so close to winning the title against us. And they won it a couple of days later. But thank God they didn't do it on our watch.
Yeah, the best second half under
George here with a shout as well. Louis van Gaal when Rashford retired Demichelis. What a moment that was for Marcus Rashford. I think his first Manchester derby. My favourite one, you mentioned a few good ones there. That League Cup against obviously Carlos Tevez, Wayne Rooney, that League Cup semi-final. The one that always sticks out for me, a little bit younger, was David Beckham away at Main Road. I think it was the second last derby at Main Road. He scored a free kick from a long way out, or very early in the match, scored a free kick from, it must have been 35 yards, put in the top corner, 1-0 to Manchester United. And there is a fascinating bit of trivia in that game, Vin, do you know? Or if anyone in the live chat does remember that game, and a bit of trivia with that David Beckham 1-0 at Main Road. Do you know what the answer is to my trivia question? What was very unique about that match?
Probably something to do with the kids.
Not quite. Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't present. I think he was in his son's wedding. He was either in South Africa or at his son's wedding. One of them. Sir Alex Ferguson missed 2 games. One was for David De Gea, and one was his son's wedding. I forget where it might have been in South Africa. But Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't on the bench, and David Beckham scored go back and watch David Beckham free kick against Manchester City. It's his most forgotten about free kick. It is absolutely brilliant. So do yourself a favour, go back and watch that. Matt here with a shout, which we said wipe it off the table, but there's no hiding from it. The Michael Owen goal. Well, what a moment that was. That whole game, Rio Ferdinand giving the ball away to Craig Bellamy. And and Michael Owen, where do you sit on Michael Owen? We'll just keep the discussion going, Vin. Man United or Liverpool? Who likes him more? Who hates him more?
Owen wants to be a part of both the clubs. Sadly, no one wants him. He, apart from that particular goal, he hasn't contributed anything to United. So I think he's a bit annoying. I don't have a dislike towards him. Yeah. I just a little bit dumb, a little bit stupid. But in terms of what he did, not won us a title, but obviously contributed well to Manchester United. Scored in a League Cup final against Aston Villa. And did he score in the League Cup final? Rooney came off the bench. I think Owen scored the first goal. Recorrect me if I'm wrong in the chat there. And obviously contributed to the title in the 10-11 season. But hasn't done himself any favours off the field in the last couple of years. Absolutely. Because of that sole reason, he kind of lost any left respect that he had. And especially to, my main philosophy of living a life is never kick someone when they are down. And as a Liverpool, I think I believe he is from Liverpool, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. And even if I'm wrong,
from Liverpool. I don't have the strongest accent. I don't think he is from Liverpool. I think he came through the system. I think he was from a little bit outside of Liverpool. Maybe someone does know. Or maybe he's 100% Scouse. I'm not sure. But I think he's from a little bit out of Liverpool. But obviously a Liverpool fan growing up.
So, doing all kind of talks and especially jokingly pointing out when Liverpool were close to winning the title. They didn't win it that season, but... So those things. I think he's just one of those guys who scored a winner and we completely forgot about him. But it was a brilliant game.
Well, hopefully Weghorst comes off the bench and etches himself into Manchester United history. That would be a great occasion, and Weghorst can be our new sort of hero. Who knows? He might get the number 7 shirt like Michael Owen. It's available. Who knows? Well, there's a shout for you, Weghorst. What number does he get? Does he get the 7?
No, maybe a shout. I wouldn't give the 7 to him. I'm not sure what he was wearing at Besiktas, but if a 99 is open, I would probably give him the 99.
United have never done that to a senior player, given them a weird number like that. Yeah, you do. Would you do that? Why do you do that? I don't disagree. I'd say it's not a Man United thing to do that.
It's not a United thing to do that, but it's more like the whole. None of us foresaw everything that's happening in this season, right? Like signing Weghorst, signing Casemiro. We never expected we'll be signing him. So just throwing a bit of a surprise out there. That would be one of the reasons. It's pretty childish, but yeah, why not? I'm not sure if 21 is available. I'm not sure who's wearing 21 right now.
Anthony.
All right. Yeah, I won't take 21 from
you. Yeah, no, I think I went through the numbers the other day. I think it is only 7 available. I think maybe 1 or 2 others. You have to maybe go up to the 30s. And look, who knows? It's a loan signing. I think Erik ten Hag, he'll make the right decision with that. And George here, Besiktas is 19 for Holland. And there's a few good Michael Owen quotes in there. It'll be a game of 2 halves. Whoever scores the most goals will win. But
hey,
before we wrap up,
question for you. Before we wrap up, question for you. Do you remember what jersey Henrik Larsson was wearing when he was signed as a loan player?
17.
It's 17. I think 17 is not open as well for us.
17 would be... Who was 17 for Man United? No, 17 is not Palestri. 17 is a player, though. I guarantee it. I'll just bring the Man United app up here. Look, I'm not in the Glazers' pocket or anything, but if you don't have the Man United app, my God, it's a good app. Just in regards to its functionality, I'm really impressed with the Man United app. It's nice and good. Christian Eriksen, 14. Who we got? Maybe the defender. Who's 17? Phil Jones. No. Malacia. No. Varane. 17 might be available, to be fair. No, Fred. How am I kidding? Fred. Brazilian Magic. Yeah. Fred is number 17. How could I miss that? But in regards to a midfield battle, to finish up last bit of the podcast, 2 names we haven't really mentioned in this podcast. But Rashford, HAALAND, Pep v Guardiola, Manchester City versus Manchester United. The 2 best midfielders in the world for me, Casemiro and De Bruyne. And I think what's fascinating around this, sometimes you talk about these battles and sometimes there's Roy Keane and Vieira, but they're sometimes a little bit further away from each other on the pitch. I'm looking at Casemiro and De Bruyne. They'll be in the same area of the pitch. I think this will be a real battle, and I think Kevin De Bruyne, in my opinion, has probably been the best player in the Premier League over the last couple of years. And at the moment, I think Casemiro is the best midfielder in the world. So I think this will be an old-fashioned battle. And at the moment, on form, you'd have to say Casemiro is likely to come out on top. But I just look at, okay, there's going to be the result, which we're going to be so sort of invested in. But this battle here, Casemiro and De Bruyne, I think sit back. There'll be a footballing show on.
Absolutely. Especially with 2 great individuals. They got huge talents and proven winners, of course. At least Casemiro has won more in the Europe as compared to De Bruyne, but proven winners, of course. And they are not really over the top kind of players. They are a bit flamboyant, and also at the same time they remain grounded to their feet. It will be an old school midfield battle. But the thing about that is, like, even if Casemiro tries to contain De Bruyne, the only thing that worries me is they got more players who can do nearly the same job what De Bruyne does.
Look, you still go through their squad, but they're still, unfortunately, we don't like to say, they're still the best squad. They're favourites to win the Champions League. Like, whereas I said, a couple of months into Erik ten Hag's journey at Man United, City are far down the line after far better recruitment and investment over the years. So, look, ultimately, if Man United play well, there's still a very good chance Manchester City show up and play well, and if that's the case, they're going to win the match. We're not going to like that as Man United fans, but it is the case. Obviously, Abdul Rahman here. Haven't seen the chat, mate. Hope all is well. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, but always good to get new opinions on here. United will definitely make their biggest effort to win the weekend derby. Of course, I'd love nothing more than winning the derby. And as said at the start of the podcast, Man United New South Wales, the supporters club, will be at Scruffy Murphy's on Saturday night. It's 11:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday night. A bit of a late one, but obviously a huge game. And Saturday is obviously far better than a Monday morning. So we'll be out there. Larry will be with me at the pub. So if you are sort of fancying a little bit of pub football on Saturday night, come down with us. Buy us a beer. If you tell us you subscribe, we'll buy you a beer. So there's plenty of drinks on offer, and obviously there's no better time to be red at the moment in regards to supporting Manchester United. It is far better going down the pub watching with mates, and rather than, because if a goal goes in at your home, you just start smashing your phone and your keyboard sort of thing, typing. It's much better sort of having a chat with like-minded Reds. So if you are in Sydney, get down to the pub. It'll be a big atmosphere there on Saturday night. We'll have sort of exclusive memorabilia. There'll be club merchandise, information about the supporters club. So if you do want to get involved, Scruffy Murphy's Saturday night, be there. If you do need any details, shoot me a message. and I will get you pass on the details. But all the links are in the description below to the Supporters Club. Now, Vin, before we do wrap up, is there anything I have missed? Obviously, there is a signing, which we discussed in Weghorst. Anything else Manchester United or Manchester Derby related you want to touch on before we wrap up?
It's been a while since I've seen a City player sent off. So I'm really hoping for one of them gets sent off during the game on Saturday.
HAALAND. I hope like Martinez just pinches him or something. And we've seen HAALAND does have a little bit of a short fuse. So and HAALAND and Lisandro Martinez is, while himself likely having a short fuse, is someone who can play the referee. Like Martinez won't mind rolling around holding his face if he hasn't been touched. That's the type of player he is. We love him on the red side. They would hate him on the blue side. So I'd love to see Erling Haaland get sent off with Lisandro Martinez staying on the pitch, but off the back of something Martinez did. I'd absolutely love to see that. And ultimately, that's funny, but it would increase our chances of winning the match a lot. Because if Manchester are going to score goals, it's very likely going to come through Erling Haaland. So fingers crossed Lisandro Martinez does sober up, because he has looked a little bit under the weather in the last couple of days. So rightfully so, and fair play to him. Rafael Varane, obviously, as well. Fingers crossed. So, Vin, been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Love the live chat today. Plenty of different opinions in there. Some new faces. So if you are new, hit that subscribe button. If you are confident ahead of the derby, please do leave a like on the video. And as I said, maybe make sure you are subscribed, because this time tomorrow, I'm sure they've made a little bit more confirmation about Weghorst, and we'll definitely go live with that this time tomorrow night with a bit of a Friday night pint. But until then, hope everyone has a good day or a good night wherever you are, and we'll chat to you then. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.